liberty, and justice for all.
I hereby announce that this meeting is being held in accordance with Chapter 231 of the Open Public Meeting Act. Proper notice of meeting dates have been given to the Morris News Beat, Morris County Daily Record, and posted on the bulletin board in Borough Hall. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Doherty.
Present.
Mr. Dritzler.
Present.
Mr. Lombardi.
Present.
Mr. McAlear.
Present.
Ms. Stecker. Present.
Approval of the minutes from the May 5th meeting. Are there any issues, or do we have a motion to move the minutes?
I move that the minutes of May 5th be approved as circulated.
Second.
I'm sorry, who's second?
Yes, Michael.
Comments from the public?
I abstain on those minutes.
Okay. As there's no one from the public to speak, I close the comments from the public section. Budget. Going smoothly there. There's no communications. Forester's report. Our forester is not here this evening. I will go through the forester's memos and relay the messages back.
Mike, can I just ask it's just a point of information, clarification? I
Sure.
get a little confused on this budget because it seems like things that we've approved are not, they're not on here. When does Karen post them to this budget?
So I asked her the same questions once the POs come through.
Because it would be, it's hard for us sometimes to make decisions because we've already approved money that isn't reflected on the balance of the sheet. So is there any way that we could, or is that the way it has to be done? I mean,
That I'm not sure. I'll bring.
you know what I mean,
that
just
up
in
with her
terms
next
of we're
time.
trying to make budget decisions, but we don't have the accurate numbers in front of us.
No, understand. No, I'll bring that up with her next time I speak with her.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay.
I can tell you how it's done since I did it.
Sure.
When I create the PO, I automatically put it on the budget. Doesn't mean that finance has done anything with it, but I've taken it out of our budget. So if you have any questions, I have two spreadsheets that can show you what the, it's under pruning, tree removal, what the PO number is, and how we get to that number.
So like for this, would it already have been, would you have already created the PO, but it hasn't posted yet? Is that what the difference is? Okay,
It has to be posted by finance here.
okay.
Could people speak into the mics?
This is up to date as to.
As of
the last
5/12,
meeting.
right?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
If
Gonna
you
go.
think there are any errors, you're welcome to come look at it.
Great, thank you. So we're gonna go through the memos. 25-5. Commissioner McAlear stated that there is what looks to be a small dogwood planted in the strip at the address above, whose bark is peeling off and seems to be dying. 66 Mountain Way. I have asked DPW to just put a little bit of mulch around it based on the recommendation from Dave Doobie, so that the weed whackers don't hit the tree anymore. And according to David, is a lilac tree.
Perfect, thanks.
25-26, 52 Glenbrook. Commissioner McAlear stated there's a small tree with no leaves at the address above, looks to be dead. Trees has already been removed by DPW. 25-27, Commissioner McAlear stated that there are 3 river birch trees at Watnum Park that look to be dead. This was responded to in my email, so those are the 3 trees that we were given by the garden club. The tops are still brown, but there's regrowth from all 3 at the bottom, and from one of them in the middle of the tree. So DPW will just kind of prune those back a little bit, and they should be fine moving forward.
Dave thinks they're gonna grow all the way up to the top.
Correct.
They're
River
gonna
birch.
leaf out, they're gonna leaf out.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Yeah, so what's gonna happen is like more at the top, the branches will be pruned back and the whole regrowth will start from the bottom.
had spent a lot of time watering them, so I was.
I was a little nervous on those, but glad to see they're getting green again. 252841 Parker Drive, resident called in that there are dead branches hanging over his deck in his yard. The trees are on town property, community pool parking lot. It's on the back of his property. There's 2 trees here that are on town property in the Green Acre space. It's 2 prunes, 24 to 36 inch, at a cost of $1,200.
I have a question about that, actually, just a procedural question. So
Sure.
I went and looked at this, and the trees are not, at least that I could see, I didn't go in his yard. They're growing out of the woods. I can understand why the resident might want them trimmed back, but this came up for me too when I watched the Board of Adjustment meeting. There was a resident there who had some questions about wires and trees. So if it's our tree, are we solely responsible for trimming it, or is it like if your neighbor has a tree and encroaches on your property, you're allowed to trim it to the property line? Have we ever clarified that?
Sal, any thoughts on
So
that?
I looked at the ordinance and what it says, and to me, the ordinance is not clear. It says, obviously, residents can't remove trees. It says if there's a part of a tree that's dangerous, I think that's one of their trees to public land, they have to remove it when required, but I don't see anything about trimming. So, Sal, what do you, or what's the practice?
I know from insurance standpoint, and this I know it might be a little irrelevant, but like, when a tree falls down, whether it's yours or your neighbor's, what falls on your property, you're responsible. On their property, they're responsible. In this situation, you're saying the dead tree starts in
It's
our.
not dead, it's just.
Well, the dead branch starts in our.
They're not even dead, they're just, the person doesn't
one
like
branch.
shade in their deck or whatever, right? So, I mean,
Well,
as far as I can see.
But it originates in our
Yes,
right of way.
it's our tree, but they're.
And my thing to you, and to your board, is do you just, if it's dead, you just cut it there, or while you're there, just cut it down so it can't fall and hurt someone?
So
They're gonna be there.
So
I
it's just,
understand your point, that's not, let's say, our coverage, but it does originate from there. I have to really look into the zoning law on that one, but that brings up another thing that I'd like to talk to the board about, a tree ordinance.
Okay.
And adjusting it, and making it more 2025.
Sure.
But I don't wanna interrupt your meeting, so.
okay, then we'll take that,
I just like to get some, because I mean, we have a few residents, right, that their property abuts to municipal land, and when the trees encroach on their property, they want us to trim them. I just think we should have a clear guideline for what that is. Is it their responsibility or is it ours? Because if it's your neighbor's tree, it's your responsibility to trim it, not your neighbor's who owns the tree.
If it's on your property, and that's correct.
Yeah, if I live next door to you and your branches are coming over, I can cut
You
them.
can cut it, yes.
Yeah,
But these are dead branches. That's why we're doing it.
they didn't look dead to me, I don't know, but maybe they are.
so the lower branches still had some leaves on them. When he went up with the machinery, there was some dead wood further up in the tree.
Oh, okay. So he's worried the dead top is gonna fall on him, but we're gonna trim back the rest of this.
Yeah, so pretty much the 2 trees where they are, they're literally right on the other side of the fence. They butt right up to the fence at this property. He's just gonna kind of clean up what's dead towards the top and a couple of the lower branches.
Just trying to be budget conscious, that's all, make sure that we're not paying for things that aren't our responsibility.
2529, Commissioner Drexler has requested that Mr. Doobie look at fertilizing the following. It's a total of 5 trees, a maple tree at the 9/11 memorial, and 4 total trees on 53. So at a price of at $11 an inch for fertilization, it's total of 24 inches, $264. Memo 2530, 4 Hillside Court East. Resident claims that the town tree in front of their resident looks to be dead and needs to be pruned or taken down. Tree was reviewed. There is a lot of dead wood in the tree. It is a 24 to 36 inch prune, $600. 2531, 26 Winding Road. I took a look at these trees as the resident has called in multiple times about their proximity to overhanging wires in front of the residence. 124 to 36 and 136 plus to be pruned, 1,300. Final memo, 2532, 51 Birch Drive. Resident claims that branches from town tree are overhanging her driveway and are hitting her car when she enters and exits the property. She would like the tree trimmed. This will be taken care of by DPW, no cost.
So question about 2531, is that our responsibility or should that be the JCP&L responsibility?
So JCP&L only works on a rotation of work, and if they're not in town to do certain sections, they won't handle it even if called. The only time they'll make an exception is something that we saw earlier on in the year. If there's a fire in the tree, they'll come and remove what was impacted by the fire.
Why would be doing this tree? It's a town tree. Not over her driveway, I don't get it.
No, he's talking about 26 Winding Way.
26 wide.
It's over power lines, isn't like that? Normally that's done by the power company, but Mike's saying because they can't do it, so we're gonna absorb the cost.
So we've run into the issue where JCP&L doesn't come out as much to do trimming as they've done in the past. So it kind of falls on us to manage it.
They only come once every 4 years.
The other thing with JCP&L, they hack those trees too, so they're not necessarily done in a way that's visually appealing.
Sometimes it's like a cannon hit in the middle of the tree.
Right,
Right?
if you look down Jake Line, you can see where they trimmed all of them and they're all separated and the wires go right down the middle of them.
So we have 4 items that we are moving to approve in the amount of $33.64. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second,
Who calls roll calls? Susan or Michael?
I do. Mrs. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Jude?
yes.
Mr. Lombardi?
Yes.
Mr. McAlear?
Yes.
Mrs. Decker?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, I closed the Forester's report section. Move on to old business. As there's nothing on the agenda for old business, we move forward to new business.
Does anyone else have anything or just the stuff that
So just those things, and then Sal would like to speak regarding the ordinance.
Okay. So I have 3 motions here. My first motion is to create 2-person working committees. The idea behind this is that we had a discussion last time that communication was difficult because we can't all email each other. So if we have 2-person working committees, we'll be able to communicate with each other more easily. And also, I feel like sometimes because we don't have a clear division of responsibilities, sometimes things fall by the wayside. And my hope is that if we have a clear division of responsibilities, we can catch some of those things. So I'm looking for a second on that motion unless there's questions for me about it.
What has fallen by the wayside?
I mean, I think we've had long discussions about that in our previous meetings, right? So, but
Not that I'm aware of.
I think we have.
Sorry, we can't hear.
I think we
Speak
have.
into
I
the
think
mic.
we have had discussions. I mean, whether it's watering, whether it's pulling up stakes, whether it's not doing the walk-arounds for planting. These would just be a few things off the top of my head.
That have fallen by the wayside.
I believe so, yeah. They're not being done. We're not doing them. Or we're not doing them, I would say, thoroughly.
And I think we are doing things. windstorm and I get these notifications from other towns, tree down, wires down. We don't have it. We're maintaining our trees. We're trying to plant more trees. We got a letter from a resident saying, thank you, what a good job you did. I think just having more committees isn't gonna solve anything. If we have something to discuss, we should discuss it here, committee of the whole. That's all.
So I'm looking for a second for my motion. So there's no, I don't know, since Karen isn't here, if there's no second, then the motion fails?
Correct.
Okay, so my next motion is that we begin our New Jersey Shade Tree Federation accreditation by applying for the New Jersey Urban and Community Forest Program Green Communities Grant. My reasoning for this is that we currently are not protected by the Community Forestry Act's extra liability that would protect us as commissioners, but also protect the borough from liability. We also are not eligible for grants that are available through that program. And even the grants we are eligible for, I worry they wouldn't take us as seriously because we have not gone through the accreditation process. So I'd like to move that we begin that process of applying for that grant.
We did apply for that grant. As far as I'm believe, I think we're still under the Department of Environmental Protection Clean Communities grant. Now, I don't know.
I'm
that
sorry,
for a fact.
This is the Green Communities Grant, and our accreditation expired last year in 2024 for our 2014 plan that Lori Fu put together.
I never saw that document that we expired.
It's available online. Anyone can go on.
We'll have to look it up.
I'm interested in level of effort to do this and whether this is something that falls out within the shade trees remit or if this is something that's handled more broadly as part of something within the
What
council.
Rob said is by being accredited, that opens up an avenue, saying correctly, for grants, right? Without the accreditation, it's just pretty much impossible.
But you have to, what are we applying for? What grant? Are we applying for trees? Are we applying for money? When we did this, this was to get the 408 trees in the no net loss program, and we went through the whole process. And there's a lot involved. I want to know exactly what this grant is. It's nice to say, oh, let's get a grant, but what's the grant going to do? What's the cost? Is there a match that you have to do? I have none of that information.
So you may not have received it, Mike. I forwarded that information to you and Karen, the complete packet. I don't know if Karen included it in email, so you could look at it before this meeting. I also spoke about it in January at length and described what the grant is for. There are two parts to the grant. One part is for the tree inventory that is now required as part of accreditation. I believe you can get up to $15,000 on that. I don't have the numbers in front of me. The other one, I believe, is for $3,000 to write the community forest management plan, which would be hiring a consulting arborist to do the work.
So I will say this, so with budget concerns, and you and I discussed this, my feeling towards this, and this is something that I did want to take a look at further, but it was towards the end of the year, depending where we were in a budget standpoint, just because this does come at a cost as well. So for that reason, I will not move this motion.
Can we table, I don't know how this works, can we table it till the latter part of the year as suggested? So we can think of, maybe we can get more information about it and be more informed about what it actually means.
So because you guys didn't receive the packet, I mean, that's fine with me. If we want to table it till our next meeting, of course. I tried to send it out ahead of time so everybody could look. I would say
Obviously I couldn't forward that packet on because of the regular open.
So that's why but Karen may have forgotten to attach it. So,
Yeah. So, yeah, let's. move
So
it to later.
I've always been open to this, but from a budget standpoint, I do wanna see where we are come like October, November standpoint, and I will let's table this for right now.
I just for the record, I want to vote on it before the fall. I think we've let it go long enough, and it is a lot of work. And I think that having this plan would allow us to do a much better job of all of the things that I said. I think we haven't been doing as good a job of, because we would have a consulting arborist who could make recommendations about some of our practices and see where we might be able to improve. I think that when we met earlier in the year, Mike, I said I would wait till June, so that's why I'm bringing it up now, because I'm doing what I said. So, I'm happy to wait till next month, but I would appreciate it, even if people don't want to vote for it, if they would look at the documentation and at least know what they're voting for or against.
Yeah, I'm happy to look at it, I just don't feel like I have enough information at this point to make an informed decision.
I understand.
So we'll table this.
And my last motion is that all of us complete one continuing education course per year. I think that not only would that help with accreditation, I think it would help for us to do community outreach. I was gonna talk just for a minute about watching the Board of Adjustment meeting. One of the things that struck me is that there was a resident here who was very concerned about the trees across from her house and the possibility of them falling. And one of them does look to be a tree that's aging. I rode my bike by it today. However, she was also upset about, she had had a lot of water in her basement due to construction. And she was wanting these trees to be removed.
Who is this person or where is this?
Can I finish speaking, and then I'm happy to answer any questions
I'm
you
trying
have.
to listen to what you're saying.
I told you it was at the Board of Adjustment meeting. So, she was upset about water in her basement, but the two trees that are across from her house, according to at least back of the envelope math and an online calculator poll, it said I think 500 gallons of water a week out of the ground. So why am I bringing this up? Because I think it speaks to, when you ask Marianne what fell by the wayside, one of the things that's fallen by the wayside is us doing the outreach that we should be doing to residents. Because residents only see trees as a liability. They don't see them as something that's a benefit. Part of our job as a shade tree commission is to be going around, having a booth at the farmer's market, going around and talking to people, putting on tree presentations here to educate people about what the benefits of the trees are. We're not doing that. We're primarily doing takedowns and pruning. So I think that if we could educate ourselves, then we could do a better job of educating the public. So that's why I want to have this. And also, if we apply for accreditation, it will go toward our accreditation that we, continuing education units. There are free courses that you can take online, so it doesn't have to be a large cost. Some of them, of course, cost a lot more than others, depending on what the unit is about. So I'm looking for questions and then a second on that motion.
I honestly don't have the mission in front of us, and I don't remember educating the public being part of the mission, because obviously some of these courses are free, but there's a level of effort here also with the commissioner's time outside of the meetings and the prep work we're already doing. So granted, some of them are free, it's still extra work, but I don't remember our mission being that broad. And my bad if I just not recalling what we agreed to as our mission. I know we looked at it November, December, and I honestly don't have it in front of me, so my understanding could be completely wrong. I don't know if anybody else remembers.
So as far as this motion goes, as far with the continuing education, since one of the education pieces has already passed for this time, at this point of the year, and there's possibly one to come in the fall, I would like to table this till January to give everybody the opportunity to have both set of dates to be able to attend whichever one is easier for their choosing.
There's many ongoing continuing education courses. There's also free online asynchronous courses that people can take at their leisure. And there's not only two opportunities to take continuing education.
Through the Shade Tree Federation, there's only two. But now you're saying there's other ones?
Outside of the federation?
No, there are other ones, but Rutgers Extension has multiple opportunities throughout the year. I'm on some of the mailing lists. They're frequently emailing about opportunities. You can go on there and look at them, and they have continuing education units that can be applied towards our accreditation. There's also The U.S. Forest Service has a tree board university that I think would be something that would be good for anyone who starts new on this commission to take. It's completely free, it's asynchronous. So there's lots of opportunities out there that, besides just the fall conference.
Last year, there was at the League of Municipalities, there was a program boosting the benefits of your municipal tree canopy, which I did attend. Whether they have another program, they did ask whether you wanted accreditation. I said, I really, or points, I said, I don't think I need it at this point. I'm glad I came. I can't say I was anything new, but it's always good to be refreshed in that point. So I don't know whether they're going to have that this year again. But where was this? I'm going back to my question. Where was this application and for this Board of Adjustment, where the person was afraid of trees?
Where, you mean, what was the address?
Yeah.
It's the lot on the corner of, you know the streets better than me, is it Hawthorne and that lot that they were applying for the variance on the lot size? I can't remember the, what's that across?
Carlisle.
There's two large trees there on the Hawthorne frontage of the lot.
And who was the person who had water problems?
I believe it was a resident that lived across the street. I don't know her name, although I'm sure she gave it at the meeting.
Was she looking to have those trees removed by the shade tree or the town? Do we know if they're 10-foot
Just
trees?
come forward and do
Yeah,
it.
but there's nothing wrong with those trees as far as I can recall.
Well, she had said, what she said to my recollection is that she was worried about them falling on the wires of the house. And she said, as far as I'm concerned, you can just remove them. And that struck me as if you have water, sump pump you had to put in your basement that you probably don't want to be removing 2.5-foot diameter trees across from your house, because we should be asking the
But what
town
surprised
to
me.
plant more trees, not to cut them down, in my opinion. And I think this shows a lack of our work in educating residents. Not that we could necessarily convince everyone, but it seemed, and the other thing is, it was clear that the resident whose mother lived there did not have any understanding of the right-of-way, despite being a long-term resident. And a lot of residents don't know that they have the right-of-way. When I go around and knock on people's doors planting, a lot of people have no idea that the first frontage of their lot is actually municipal right-of-way. So this is another thing I think we need to educate people about, as well as how to care for the trees that we plant on their lot, so that they don't have trimmer damage and other things.
Actually, when that lot got subdivided, I don't know what they needed a variance for, candidly. No one complained about the subdivision. Nobody, in fact, residents came and supported it.
I'm not litigating that, or I have no idea about that.
I'm just telling you.
I have no idea
So
about
what's-
that. I'm
what's
just telling you what I saw at the
happened
meeting about the trees.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you what happened at the meeting on that lot with the trees on it when it was subdivided.
Rob, why are these people so unhappy? Why don't they come forward? Pick up the phone, call town hall. Last year, 79 people wanted something done and we did it. This year, we have done 32 residents. What are we doing wrong? Why are these people so angry at the Shade Tree Commission? Just tell them to pick up the phone and call Karen or call town hall and say, gee, I have 2 trees, what can I do? We just had a gentleman here before you got here. He lived on Beach Drive, he had a tree removed. He said, may I have another one? And we said, yeah. He said, oh, I didn't know that. But he came forward. So what are we doing? What are we supposed to do?
Well, so first of all, I think that she did, Karen did speak to her after the meeting. I think, I didn't see that, but Karen said she would. But second of all, I guess my answer would be is that we should be, people don't know what we do or who we are. I don't know that they're mad at Shade Tree. I just think they see trees and oftentimes they feel like they're worried about them, or they feel that they're a liability. And there are liabilities with trees, but there's also a lot of benefits to them. And I guess that's what I'm saying, is it's our job. We should be, I understand that you want them to come to us, but maybe we need to be going to them a little bit more by putting articles in Plains Talk, by trying to do outreach, things like this, so that we can educate people.
I think we agreed that that's what we were gonna do in the fall with the Plains Talk. think we already agreed, I'm pretty sure
Remember we
we all
talked
agreed
about
to that.
putting an article in and then putting a blank application, like, do you have a tree that you want us to look at? Remember, we were gonna work on that article and put it in plain sight?
Right, but I'm just saying, Marion was saying, well, what are we falling by the wayside? Until I brought that up, there was no discussion of doing that. That's what I'm saying, these are the things I think are falling by the wayside, so I'm just trying to get us doing these things that I think are necessary to maintain this.
But that is your opinion, Rob, and usually the complaint comes when people cut down trees, not when they're putting them up. Okay, not when they have trees, it's when it's cut down trees. People don't like it when you cut down trees, and I don't blame them.
Okay, I mean, I'm saying my opinion, but that's why I'm here, that's what I'm supposed to do.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
So, is there a second for my motion?
It seems like this motion is wrapped up in the idea that we need to review the mission to see, I mean, I'm not against continuing education, but what I am worried about is that scope creep within the mission, right? And we've had this before where we went back, I think it was a year ago, about parks and what was in the shade trees remit within parks and what was in the parks budget. We had that conversation, which is a really good conversation. My opinion is that this seems to be wrapped up in the idea of the mission, and I would rather us have a conversation again. Let's revisit the mission, see what's in the mission, and separate the two, and then figure out what the right course of action is based on the mission that we all have a shared understanding of. That's just my opinion.
And also on the plains talk, why don't we put our goals and objectives that we talked about in January 8th? That kind of says it all too.
The motion on the floor now is to confirm one course per year, right? Am I correct?
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
Just to make sure I'm following, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
The way just like I said, I did go to a course last year. I don't think myself as a citizen volunteer here, that we need big government or little government or any government to tell you what to do. I think we're all I think that's why we're on this board, to make the town better. And if there's something that we can do, we'll do it. Do we need somebody to, oh, did you take this course? Did I take that course? I don't think so. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I'm happy to take a course. I don't know that we need I don't know that it has to be formalized within a motion. That's just my opinion.
I'm already looking for courses for the fall. There's shade tree chairman courses that I'm looking at, so I don't have anything else regarding this motion.
So is there a second for the motion?
But I'll say I'm committed to taking a course.
As there's no seconds, I close this part of new business. Move over to Sal for his discussion regarding the tree ordinance.
We have an existing tree ordinance, it was done probably 15, 20 years ago. And it's come to the council that a lot of people are abusing our trees. I'm not, happy about giving any addresses out or names right now. But we need to look at that ordinance and find a way that we can enforce it with, fines. I'm for education always first, and don't get me wrong. But some people are just got deliberate butchers.
Correct.
I have to go and check on a property that I already know and I get upset, and I go look at it. But that ordinance should be done, and I wanna say it should be coupled with our zoning officer and give him, the ordinance or the power to, do a summons, court, and also, if there's anything to put back, look at the ordinance and see what we wanna do. For many years, I think I may be a little bit guilty of this myself. In my house, I had the water pitching downward into my basement, so for me to lower the elevation, I had to remove, trees. I did some courtesy calls back then, going back about almost 35, 40 years ago. And, basically, they were underwater. But I think now it's 2025, everyone's concerned about the canopy, everyone's concerned about the green. We've got our, what, kicked with Sandy. Robert went on record last week about the loss, about, 15%, I think was.
Along our streets, just
On
on our
those
streets.
trees in that area. It's a little shock, but more so, we lost that. How did we lose them? Did people just go there? Or were they, because of Sandy or something like that? But even with that, investigative side, I think we should look at the ordinance and just tweak it that people will think twice before cutting a tree. I don't want to put any fear in anybody, and of course, this is not applied to an emergency situation. God forbid a tree falls on the house or something like that, oh my God. But we should get up to par with that, and I'd be willing to sit down with you and the vice chair. Anybody else wants to come, I'm fine with it, and take a look at it. First, read it thoroughly, and we should do something.
Sure, completely open to that. More than willing to take a look at it
I don't
and
know
make
if anyone
some
else on the board
recommendations.
has any questions about
I'd be happy
that?
to do that as well.
Is this the same one from last year?
That never was adopted.
Correct.
It
This
never
is
was
The
adopted.
original,
This is
the
same one.
original,
They're-
original
You
ordinance.
don't say it.
The original ordinance, we have a tree ordinance in Morris Plains.
Right.
The one that we were working on with the Shade Tree Commission last year with Kathy Kelly, myself, and Nancy. Sadly, that didn't go that much further. That's all I can say about that right now, but it didn't, that doesn't mean that it's right that we didn't do that. So let's pick up the ropes and, get Morris Plains back. We were weren't we one time Tree City or New Jersey?
We still are 48
Well,
years.
We're 49, you know what, there's a lot of discussion about a canopy, okay, a lot of discussion about canopy. But people forget, okay, forget one thing. And when we did get certified last time, to remember, we had that terrible snowstorm where limbs were falling all over the place, followed the next time by Sandy. We lost, in those two storms, 150 to 200 trees, big trees. Now, the borough did go and plant 408 trees. We had trouble finding locations for them. But you're not gonna replace a 40, 50, or 60-year-old tree with a planting of 2.5. So that takes time, and that's what's, and then of course, what did you have here? Had the ash borer, a lanternfly. So those, and there's not just the marsh plains, those all are part of the problem, not that people are cutting. The idea, as I think I said earlier, is you want to plant trees, and we have to plant more. That's as simple as that. And we had the ash borer, and the commission spent a lot of time cleaning up that. But that's beyond us. Now's the time to plant. And I know we wanted to plant like 15 trees at the beginning of the year. Rob was worried about the budget. Well, you know what? If you're gonna worry about the budget, then you're not gonna plant trees. And we ended up cutting back on trees. That's wrong. We got the money to plant the trees. We should be planting.
For the record, I think you're saying something that's not accurate to the facts. When did I say that we should plant fewer trees, Frank?
Plant what? I didn't say you
When-
should plant few.
I didn't,
What?
I never
No,
said
no,
that.
no. The motion was for, I think, 13 or 15 trees. You said, oh, that's too much. Oh, how about 8 or 6 trees? And just as the rest of the board said, oh, sure, we'll compromise with you, 8 trees. And then when we voted, you voted against 8 trees even. So, I mean.
I voted
yes,
against
you
the trees
voted.
that you wanted planted in Janeway, that there are
Where?
3 trees already
You know
planted
what?
over there
No,
because the
it was
location
community
doesn't
park.
make
It
sense.
still
It was
helps
community
the
park
canopy,
trees.
wherever you put them.
You're incorrect.
It was community park trees.
No.
It
The
was-
reason I voted against the motion, I said last time very clearly, because of the fact, and I'd like to be interrupted, and then anyone can say what they feel like, was because of the fact that we were planting trees where there were already 3 newly planted trees, when there are many gaps in the borough that could use a tree, and I didn't understand the logic. Should I have made that clearer when I voted against? Maybe, but let's be realistic. Okay? We were supposed to all go around, like I said last meeting, and have 5 locations. We didn't do that. Instead, we planted a bunch of trees in Community Park on the hill, and some other trees where there's already 2 trees. That doesn't seem like a good decision to me. Again here
We
tonight,
have a whole list of trees, Rob, here.
and here tonight, we're relitigating this. I'm not interested in that. I'd like to move on. We talked about this last meeting. I'm sorry I couldn't attend.
So Sal, I have a question for you. I don't know if you remember in the ordinance. Is the ordinance only residential, or does it include commercial in there as well?
For that, it applies to our,
I'm just curious.
our trees, in our right of way, in our parks.
So it's parks,
And then-
residential?
And then it also goes to residential, like if someone, has a tree in their backyard. The new ordinance tells you that the state gave us a blank format, not a blank format, my apologies. But if you cut down like a 24-inch trees, you gotta put 2 3-inch caliber, for example.
Yeah,
And there was an equation for all that.
right.
Now, that never got adopted, and what I'm asking the board is help, let's adopt that and give the zoning the power to reinforce it. And I completely agree with you, Frank, we got our you-know-what kicked with all those things, the ash borer, the lanternfly, Sandy, and we're not gonna create that canopy like that. But it's nice to hear that we're on the right track and knowing that little by little, without us doing anything, that tree will expand and increase our canopy, which is a nice thing.
Yeah, the reason I was asking about commercial is because with the new commercial stuff going in, like at Wykert and all the other buildings, I'm just wondering if you want to think about what the impact has, and if that would be a separate ordinance, because it's commercial properties versus residential and park. So that's my only point of bringing it up, but maybe there's something there to be
It should.
incorporated.
It should respect that ordinance, so if an applicant like Wykert comes in and is gonna cut down, 236 or 230-inch trees, they should, you look at the form and says, okay, you gotta put these trees, find a place for them. And, there's plenty of land there to do that.
Yeah, I'm just saying,
We'd
like,
be moving it from like,
Right.
from A to B, but it would still be in
Right.
that property.
Yeah.
But more importantly, that thing would start, the canopy would start, increasing.
Yeah.
While we're sleeping.
Yep.
Yep.
You know?
Perfect.
But right now, we're not fully, geared that way, and I'm asking for your guys' help.
Absolutely, more than
And,
happy to help you.
I'm gonna say something, and, I got a big mouth.
Sal, I think we'll always try to help you. I think my concern with one of the proposals was that they were charging a resident on their private property to cut down a tree. Now, maybe that resident wanted to have a garden and there was too much shade. And now they have to pay to cut the tree down to the town. Or maybe as that lady that Rob talks about was afraid, there's a tree in her front yard that she's afraid is going to fall. Now she has to pay a fee to the town besides paying someone to take the tree down. I don't see that as maybe I'm wrong, but as a problem. I don't think people willy-nilly cut trees down. I think we have a zoning ordinance. I mean, you can tweak the ordinance, no problem. But
We have to.
I don't want to see charging. I think it's wrong to charge people on their own property.
Frank, the fee started off at 100, I think we lowered it down to 50. And it wasn't about the money, because $50 for a Morris Plains resident, and I'm sorry, it's not about that. It's about us knowing that you're taking down a tree, and us knowing that, listen, if it's a tree that's dead, it's one thing, but if it's like a nice, 18, 24-inch tree, it's nice that we know about it and say, listen, by the way, this is what you have to do just to cut the tree down. That $50 doesn't cover Don's inspection, doesn't cover anything. It's very minimal. It's more that you have a record and that the guy paid up. But now, you wanna drop that down to 10 or 5, I don't have any problem. It will not affect an $18, $20 million budget that we have in our town, especially if you get 10 people that get a permit. It's not gonna make or break anything. But more importantly, it's gonna let us know what's going on out there. And that's what we're missing right now. Because I think that, I'll have to talk to you after the meeting, I don't wanna go on record or anything. Supposedly there was a lot of, one lot just recently, last couple of days, that there was a lot of butchering done. And that ticks me off a lot. It bothers me knowing that you guys are trying to get the canopy, and here's somebody, I'm like, all right, well, what the heck are we doing then? You just killed the canopy that we're trying to restore. I'm trying to, so the fee was not about to break the bank. And I don't think anyone in Morris Plains, $50 or $100 would break the bank. And take down a tree, you're probably looking at $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, depending on where it is too, the power lines or the house or the roof. So it's more about getting an application and just have a paper trail. Now, you wanna lower that fee to $5, I'm fine with it. Just something that people know, by the way, you didn't do a permit, you didn't file a permit, I can now issue a stop permit because you did file a permit. And you're gonna get that chainsaw and put it at rest till you and I sit down with the forester, the zoning, whoever you have, and say, listen, here's your lot, here's what you had, here's what you butchered. Let's work together and the mission of this board, from little I have, and forgive me, is about keeping Morris Plains green and the beautiful canopy that we have. So by us doing things, at the same time, we're closing our eyes on a chainsaw and not reinforcing it. I just feel very, very uncomfortable, Frank, but more importantly, a new ordinance for 2025. We know where we are, we know everything that happened, but we want to know, and the council wants to know that, okay, given all that, all right, we're improving, we're moving forward, and we have a system now where if a guy does get a chainsaw, he didn't file a permit, so now we can stop permit. Let's make that $5. As much as, but you think about it, someone has to go there, Don's gotta go there, let's spend that on gas, but it's not about that. It's about that us having a record of what's going on. And also, maybe the residents, the neighbors. That tree was giving a beautiful coverage over my roof, and I never had air conditioning. You cut the tree down and my AC went up twice. Just something, okay, well, the guy did come to us. No, we don't know anything about it. I don't like that. No, the guy did come to us, and this is what we told him, and this is the plan. Versus, he really cut the trees down? Oh, okay, well, let's take a look at it. Well, kind of late.
Sure.
So anyway, I'm sorry if I talked too much.
No, completely with you. We'll definitely work with you on that to update the ordinance.
Thanks, I'm happy to work with you too.
Thank you. I'm honored that you guys let me. You said I don't get treated this way.
As there's no other new business on the agenda, does anybody have anything else prior to closing? Seeing that there's nothing else.
I just have one small thing. I spoke to Jean Epiphan. I don't know if you ever spoke to her, Frank. You were gonna ask her if she could come and speak. She's the Morris County, she's the county rep from the Forestry.
No, that I did, and no.
Well, I spoke to her, and she said she would be willing to come and give a presentation to us at some point, if we were interested. She said she's backed up for quite a while, so we might wanna think about if we wanna schedule that. It might not be until next year, so, I just spoke to her, and I just wanted to give an update that the canopy study I gave last time, I said I would give you in color, but, I'm trying to update some things based on some of the questions you had, Marianne, and also, Gina had some suggestions, about thinking about kind of issues Frank's talking about what are the reasons for this loss that I thought would be good to include in there. So it provides maybe a fuller picture. So that's why I don't have it done yet. I'm hoping to have it done by next
When
time.
I spoke to her, she says she basically gives courses to professional people who want to get certified, to be, that's the way she put it.
Maybe that, she told me she has a talk that
As opposed to a volunteer type.
she has a talk that she's going around and giving to a lot of shade tree commissions, and she asked if we'd be interested.
Well,
So
that's a year later, so she may be changed.
maybe you gave her the idea.
I did have a long talk with her, but, so.
And
It was tough to get a hold of her, but she wasn't in the office all
Thank you, everyone. I move a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.